All right, welcome everybody to another YouTube live training video here, brought to you by REI Blackbook. My name is Josh Arras, and today we're going to talk about the importance of building an automated call flow for all of your inbound leads. Now, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I've got a little presentation that we're going to do. And of course, Zoom's not wanting to let me share my screen here. So 1 second. Let's see. I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong. Sorry, guys. Nothing like doing live training when the technology doesn't work. All right, so Zoom is not letting me share my entire screen. So for some reason, I'm not going to be able to pull up my presentation. But what I can do is share my browser, and I'm going to talk through how to actually build this. But what I want to talk about before that is the importance of building an automated call flow and what an automated call flow really is. So if you think about, if you were to step back and think about what you want to happen when somebody calls into your business. So as a real estate investor, really what you're responsible for, when you're going out and you're sending marketing out, whether it be direct mail or you're, buying billboard ads in your market, you're doing pay-per-click ads, you're buying radio ads, whatever it is, people are going to be calling into your business. And you need to be able to make sure that, number one, you're capturing all of those calls as they're coming in, whether you answer the call or not. Now, the goal is to be able to answer all of your inbound calls. If you're not able to answer all of your inbound calls, can you forward that call to a call answering service? Or maybe, can you forward that call to somebody else on your team? So all those little actions that you'd want to happen when somebody calls in can be built into what we call an automated workflow. Now, let's talk about what most investors do when they first get started. And there's nothing wrong with this, especially if you don't have any existing systems in place. Now, when you're first getting started, what most investors will do is they will, they'll go and they'll put their cell phone number on all of their marketing pieces. Okay. So first I want to just see here if you guys can see my screen. Yes. All right. And if you can see me and hear me, please just put a hello or a hey in the chat so I can see the chat. I just want to make sure. I want to see who we got with us on the live stream. So while you're doing that, I want to talk about, as real estate investors, when you're getting started, a lot of folks will put their cell phone number on their direct mail pieces, on all their different direct mail pieces. They'll put their cell phone number on their, their website, or maybe you go and you get a Google Voice number. All right. And a Google Voice number at least masks your cell phone number so people don't have your actual, personal phone number. Now, the problem with doing this, especially if you're just using your phone number on direct mail pieces, is twofold. The first problem is you don't know who's calling. So you don't know if it's a business call or if it's just, a friend or relative, or maybe, your spouse calling from a work phone and you don't recognize the number. So I don't know about you, but I don't answer a whole lot of calls these days if I don't know who it is, because usually it's somebody calling, trying to, market or sell something, right? So I'm usually not answering a call if I don't know who it is. So if you were to use a system like the phone system that we have in REI Blackbook or Google Voice, at least you know that it's a business call and you know how to answer it. You know that you need to answer it as a business call. Now, the second problem with putting your cell phone on all of your marketing pieces is that it's really hard to pull yourself out of that role of the business. So if one day you don't want to have to be there, having your phone on your hip at all times, ready to answer it no matter what time of day it is, if you want to outsource that to a call answering service like Pat Live or get a virtual assistant involved, it's virtually impossible to do because your cell phone number is the one that they're calling, and you can't route calls to somebody else if they're calling your cell phone directly. So what we do inside of REI Blackbook is we have a phone system that's called Profit Dial, excuse me. And in Profit Dial, you can get these different call tracking phone numbers. Okay. And I had a presentation that I was going to show you, but for some reason, Zoom's not letting me stream this. But in another video and another training, we'll go through and I'll actually show you this presentation. But basically what you can do is you can get multiple phone numbers that all go to the same call experience. And what I mean by that is when somebody calls into your business, what do you want to happen first, second, third, fourth? So let's just think through this and take technology completely out of it, take software completely out of it. Just what would you like to happen in your business? Let's just say if somebody gets a direct mail piece from you. So, what I think would probably be a good experience would be somebody gets a direct mail piece. They see that there's a phone number in there. They call that phone number and they're immediately able to talk to somebody. Now, maybe you say, hey, you know what? I don't want that call to go to somebody because I send out so much mail. I only want to talk to people that listen to a pre-recorded voicemail, that listen to a pre-recorded message and leave their property address as a voicemail. That's an option too. That's what I'm talking about by what do you want that experience to be, both for you and the seller that's calling into your business. All right. So think about that. And what I would do if I was able to share my screen is I would go through a little bit of a thought exercise with you and we'd actually jot it down. We'd write it down on a piece of paper. So, but think about what you want to happen. So a call comes into your business and let's just say that you want that call to be answered. Okay. Wouldn't it be nice to know where that call came from? Did the call come from a postcard or did it come from a letter? Did it come from a billboard or did it come from a radio ad or maybe the phone number on my website? Wouldn't it be nice to know where that call came from? Because then you could actually go back and you could, look through your historical calls and you can see where your best leads are coming from. That would probably be pretty nice to know. Okay. So we would jot that down on a piece of paper and say, okay, yeah, I'd like somebody to be able to answer the call live. I'd like the call to be tracked so I know where it came from or maybe what list it came from, right? Some people actually have multiple different phone numbers for their direct mail campaigns because they want to see if their probate list is performing better than their absentee owner list. All right. So we'll go through and kind of show you how to build that here in a minute. But again, go through this process and say, what do I want to happen when somebody calls in and write it down on a piece of paper? So right now we're saying we want somebody to be able to answer the phone. Maybe it's you, maybe it's somebody on your team, maybe it's a call answering service. We'll figure that out later. But the fact of the matter is you want somebody to answer that call live. I'd also like that call to be tracked so I know where it came from. Perfect. Okay. Now, what happens if the call is not answered? Because that happens a lot, right? Maybe you're on the other line. Maybe you're busy. Maybe they call after hours. What happens if that call is not answered? Wouldn't it be nice if somebody on my team was notified, or if I'm a one person operation, wouldn't it be nice if I was notified? Wouldn't it be nice if that person that's calling in got a text message right away to say, hey, we're so sorry that we missed your call, but I just want to let you know that we'll be following up with you here shortly. Please be expecting a call from us in the next couple hours. Or maybe they get a text message that just says, hey, so sorry I missed your call. If this is about a property that you have for sale, please reply with the address. Why would that be nice? Well, now you've got their phone number. And if they reply, you've got their address. So you can do a lot with those two pieces of information. You can, you can go research the property. You can see if it's even if it's even in an area that you buy in. You can see if it's even remotely close to being a deal. So you can decide if you want to pursue it or not. If they don't respond, now at least you have their property address and their phone number. So you can put them on a follow-up campaign. Maybe you can continue to send them direct mail. Maybe you can continue to send them text messages and ringless voicemails, right? And so then I would jot that down. I would say, if somebody doesn't answer, then I want this to happen. I want somebody on my team to be notified, and I want them to get a text message, them meaning the person that called in, the seller, just to let them know that we are that we got their call and we're going to be following up. Okay, so once I have that all written down, I would then go into my REI Blackbook account and I would actually build that call flow. So again, a call flow is just a set of actions that I want to happen every single time somebody calls in to a specific phone number. All right. So I want to show you how easy it is to set up this call flow. And then if you guys have questions, I'd love for you to pop them in the chat. So I want to see if we've got any. We've got Anton, Joanne, John, Adela, William. William, what's up, man? I saw you on, I know you were at boot camp. So I appreciate you hopping on with us today as well. Nada, I hope I pronounced that right. And we got Steve as well. Perfect. All right. So if you guys have questions throughout this, just please drop them in the chat and I'll be able to go back and answer those later on in the call. Okay. So again, now that we went through this little thought exercise and we know exactly what we want to happen when somebody calls in, how do I actually build that out as what we call a call flow inside of REI Blackbook? So to do that, what you're going to do, the first thing you want to do is get a phone number. Now we showed how to get a phone number in other videos. So if you actually go back to some other videos on our YouTube channel, you'll be able to see how to get a phone number. If you're an existing user, or even if you're not, you could literally just go to Google and search how to add new phone number REI Blackbook and a support article will pop up. But if you go to system settings, you'll be able to see here that I've got a bunch of different phone numbers. And I have a bunch of different phone numbers because it allows me to track where the lead came from. Okay. So we'll talk about that here in a minute, but let's just say that we're going to send out probate mail. So we'll just use this phone number. We're going to send out probate mail. And I want to make sure that anybody that calls into this phone number, the call is tracked. So I know that it came from my probate mailer. Okay. So I would go and either use an existing phone number that I have, or I could add a new phone number, which I'm not going to do. And the beauty of the way that the system is built in REI Blackbook is that all of the tracking is done at the phone number level. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So if I'm sending out probate mail, and maybe I'm using this phone number here, I could always go in and I can edit the number. So let's say I'm sending out a specific type of postcard and I want to use this number. So I'm going to say probate mail red postcard. Okay. And now we'll set up a call flow here in a little bit, but you can see that the tracking is done at the phone number level, meaning when somebody calls into this specific phone number, I can apply a specific tag. And I can say that this is a seller lead dash probate. Okay. And if the tag doesn't exist, I can add it on the fly. And so now I know what type of lead this came from. And the source could be direct mail. Here we go. Okay. So if you're with me so far, give me a yes. If you have questions, then please pop those questions in the chat. So if you're with me so far, if this is making sense, please say yes. If you've got questions, please ask them, because this stuff is really important. So the reason that we break these up and we say, hey, you can actually track where your leads are coming from at the phone number level is because if I want all of my callers, regardless, assuming they're all sellers, right? If I want anybody that calls into my business to go through that same call flow, meaning I want somebody to answer it live. If they don't answer, I want somebody on my team to get notified, and I want a text message to go out to that seller to say, hey, we got your information. Then I can send every single call to that same experience, that same call flow. And I only need to create that once. But at the phone number level, I can choose how they're tagged and how they're sourced. So if this was going to be, so for example, then I would go into my, radio. So I'm doing seller leads on the radio, seller ads on the radio, and I want them to go into that same call flow. I want them to receive that same experience. But I also want to make sure that they're being tracked properly. So you can see that this is a seller lead and it's coming from a radio ad. And I don't specifically know what type of seller lead it is because I don't have them on a list. So before, if I'm sending probate mail out, I know if somebody calls back, that's 99% of the time going to be a probate lead because they were on a list for probate. But if somebody's just calling from the radio, you're probably not going to know exactly what type of seller lead they are. So I hope this is making sense. Let me check out the chat here and see what we got. Lots of yeses, which is great. No questions so far. So I appreciate your feedback, guys. I really do. Okay. Now, how do we create the actual call flow? All right. So if we go to marketing and we go to call flows, this is a list of all the call flows I have in my account. So this is my demo account. So I've got a lot of different call flows in here. If you've got a newer account, you won't see all these, but I'm going to click on add new call flow. And then I would reference the notes that I was taking when I went through that thought exercise to say, what do I want to happen when somebody calls in? Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do though, is I'm going to name this inbound seller lead. We'll call this Zoom demo. I've done this a lot of times, so I have to come up with weird names like this. But you would just call this maybe like inbound seller lead. That would probably be fine. Nobody's going to see this. This is just descriptive for you. So what do I want to happen when that person calls in? Remember, they're already being tagged and sourced at the call flow level. So, or I'm sorry, at the phone number level. So we don't need to necessarily add tags or sources in here, but we still could for other reasons. And I'll show you what those may be. So the first thing I want to do is I want to forward this call. All right. And I'm going to choose which phone number that I want to forward this to. So I'm going to put my cell phone number in here. And this obviously isn't my real cell phone number, but I'm going to put my cell phone number in here. But this could also be the phone number you have for Pat Live. Okay. This could be your acquisition manager's phone number. Right now, if you're answering all the calls, this is going to be your cell phone number. But this is the beauty of using a tool like Profit Dial and REI Blackbook, is because it's as easy as changing this phone number to remove yourself from this part of the business, from having to answer all of your calls. It's as easy as changing the phone number that the calls are forwarded to. So let's say you're like, hey, you know what? I just can't afford a call answering service, but I know that I don't want to be chained to my cell phone all the time. I want to focus on higher level activities in my business, like analyzing deals and finding lenders for my deals and finding buyers for my deals. I don't want to have to be fielding seller calls for the rest of my life, but I realize I'm going to have to do it until I close another 3 or 4 deals. So perfect. So you put your cell phone number in here, then you close those 3 or 4 deals. And now you say, all right, perfect. I can afford to hire Pat Live or a virtual assistant, and you just plug in their phone number now and you're off to the races. It's that easy. The next thing here you're going to want to do is choose whether or not you want to see the person's number that is calling or the Profit Dial number that is called. Now, I always choose the Profit Dial number that is called because it allows me to then save the Profit Dial number in my phone. And when somebody calls this number, I can see that it is a probate mailer. I could save that number in my phone and call it probate mailer. And so when the phone rings, it shows a person from my probate campaign is calling, and I can answer that and know it's a business call. So that's pretty cool. And that's really important. Now, this is where it gets really neat. You can add forwarding branching, meaning if I click on add forwarding branching, we can say, hey, if they answered, do this. If they didn't answer, do this. All right. So this is where there's some added power here and some added flexibility to really create a great experience for your sellers as they're calling in. And that's what this is all about. You want to create a great customer experience for your leads and your prospects while making the operations side of your business and the tracking of your marketing much easier and much more streamlined. So it's a win-win. It's great. It's a great experience for your potential customers. And it's a great experience for you and your team. So what I want to do is, like, if the call is answered, and this is not required, but I like to do it for reporting purposes, I can add a tag, and I'm just going to add a tag that I created called answered. Okay. And that's really all that needs to happen. What I like to do sometimes as well is I'll say, I want to create a task if the call's answered to review seller lead call and set next steps. Okay. And you can add a little description here. I'm going to assign it to myself. But if I had an assistant or something that I wanted to assign this to, I could, but I'm just going to assign it to myself. This is a miscellaneous task. It's a high priority and it's due immediately, or maybe it's due tomorrow. Okay. So then what happens is, let's say I'm like, I'm fielding 5-6 phone calls a day. the next day, it'll just prompt me to review that call. And what's cool about the phone system inside of REI Blackbook, what's cool about Profit Dial is every single phone call is automatically recorded if you set it up that way. And by default, your calls do not get recorded, but I'll show you how to enable that on the phone number when we go back there. But every single call is recorded, and that recording is just kept inside of the contact record in your account, which is awesome. So scrolling back up, we know what happens when the call is answered. Okay. Sorry, should have done this before. I apologize. Turn my notifications off. We know what happens if the call is answered. What happens if the call is not answered? Because not every call is going to be able to be answered. Well, what we could do is we could tag this not answered. And again, what this allows us to do is, I think it may be no answer. Yeah. What this allows us to do is run reports later and see, out of our total calls, how many are answered and how many are not answered. And this is nice data to have, looking back 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, or an entire year. It's nice to see how many calls you're able to actually answer. And all this is automatically tracked and logged, which is great. The next thing I would like to do is assign a task to somebody on my team. I don't know why it's not letting me. Oh, here we go. Assign a task to someone on my team or myself. Call missed seller lead ASAP. Add a little description in here. Assign it to somebody on your team. I'll assign it to myself. It's a call. It's a high priority, and it's going to be assigned immediately. Okay. You could also, if you wanted to, send a notification to somebody on your team or yourself and say, you have a missed seller call back ASAP. And you can actually merge their phone number in here or their name and other information if you had it. But we could merge their phone number directly in here so they could call them back, or they could open up the Profit Dial app. There's a mobile app, and they could call directly from the Profit Dial app. There's a lot of different possibilities here, but you would just then say, who on my team or myself do I want to get this text message to notify me that I missed a call? So this is an internal text message. This is a text message as a notification to notify yourself or somebody on your team that you missed the call. We're now going to send a text reply to the person that called in. All right. And I'll pause for questions here in a second, but we'll say, hey, so sorry, I missed your call. You could say something like in a meeting, call you back soon, but we could also just say, is this about a property that you have for sale? And leave it at that. And maybe you build in a 1 minute delay to make it feel like it's not auto-generated, or it could just be sent out, not a 1 day, a 1 minute delay. And this text will be sent out a minute after that person hangs up. Okay. So sorry, I missed your call. Is this about a property that you have for sale? Now, this is a very short, very personal feeling message that elicits a response. And that's what you want with a text reply like this. You want to ask them an open-ended question that's going to elicit a response, because all we're trying to do with our marketing is to get them to reply. All we're trying to do with our marketing is to get them to engage. You're not going to buy or sell a house off of a great direct mail piece. All you're going to get them to do is call in, and the goal is to get them on the phone. If you don't answer the call, we're just trying to build in some contingencies here. Okay. So again, if this is making sense, then say yes in the chat. If you've got questions, please pop them in, because I know we're getting a little in the weeds and a little technical, but that's the purpose of these trainings. That's why we do these, because we have a lot of folks that have very specific questions. So I'm going to jump in and see. Adela, yes, this training is automatically recorded and it will be available on our YouTube channel. It usually takes a little bit of time for YouTube to make it available on the channel, but yes, this is being recorded. Somebody asked, what if you want to send them to voicemail? So that's a great point, and I forgot to mention that. So if we scroll back up here, okay, you could send them to voicemail if we don't answer. So we could insert a step here, and let's see, voicemail. And you would just create a recording just like you would for your normal phone. You'd create a voice recording, and it would just say, hey, this is Josh with STL Home Offers. I'm so sorry that I missed your call. This is about a property that you have for sale. Please leave a detailed message with your address. It's basic information about the property. Myself and my team will get back to you shortly. So you would just leave that. You just have that recording. And then you can also do voicemail branching, which we won't get into right now. But that basically says, what happens if they leave a voicemail and if they don't leave a voicemail. All right. But we won't get into that right now. The cool thing to know is just there's a ton of flexibility inside of the call flows and workflow builder inside of REI Blackbook. You can do a lot with it. Oops. But that is how you build a basic call flow. Now, the beauty of this is you build it one time and you can use it across all of your phone numbers, at least for sellers, right? If you have a different parts of your business, maybe you run a rental business, or you've got a hard money business, or you've got a disposition side of your business where you're selling your properties or renting your properties out, then that's a different experience that you're going to want your callers to go through. But you can point all of your seller phone numbers, all of your call tracking phone numbers in your REI Blackbook account directly at this call flow. Because remember, all of the tracking is done at the call flow at the phone number level. I apologize. So let's save and close this because the next question is, okay, that's great, but how do I actually attach this call flow to my phone number? How do I actually make it all work? So it's really easy to do. I'm just going to hit save and close, and we're going to go to our system settings where our phone numbers are. And I'm going to go find that probate mail red postcard. Okay. You can see that it's currently unconfigured, which means that it's not hooked up to a call flow. So if I go to edit number, all I have to do, I could set up a call flow on the fly like we just did. But now that I've got my main call flow set up, then I can just go search for it. And I called it inbound seller lead Zoom demo. And then I click done. And now if I refresh my page, there we go. That is now the call flow that I'm using. And I could go and I could assign that call flow to all my phone numbers. If I wanted all of my seller leads to get that experience, I could assign that call flow to all those numbers. Now, how do you set up call recording? So you can see here right now, call recording is actually enabled because this was a phone number I was already using. We got call recording right here. And if I wanted to, I can jump inside of here and I can turn on or off call recording for inbound calls, call recording for outgoing calls, and then there's also in some states, they'll require a notice of call recording, which simply means they want to know, or you're required by law in certain states to basically disclose that the call is being recorded. So when somebody calls in, before someone answers, it's going to say, this call is being recorded for quality insurance purposes. So if that's required in your state, you can turn it on. If it's not, you can turn it off, hit save changes. And now every single call, inbound and outbound, is going to automatically be recorded, and it's going to be stored inside of the contact record inside of your REI Blackbook account. So why don't we test this? If somebody on the call wants to actually call this number, I'll do it as well. Let's see here. So we're kind of simulating right now what would happen if, I got one of these probate mailers in the mail and I called the number on the postcard. Because again, this is the number that you'd actually put on your postcard. So I'm going to call 314-300-0199. All right. And it basically rang once and then hung up because it's being forwarded to a fake phone number. But the cool part is that even if maybe you accidentally had a typo on your number and you weren't receiving calls, the system, REI Blackbook, still captures that lead, still captures that call because they called into one of your profit dial phone numbers. So if I go into my inbox, my profit dial inbox, which is where all of my calls are stored, you can see that Josh Test just called that phone number. And I'm already in the system because I've called in before during demos. So it's going to actually show my name. Now, if I'm not in the system, you can see like this, this lead right here. If I'm not currently in the system, then it's going to allow me to assign this contact to actually create this person as a contact. Let's just click on my name here and you'll be able to see that a call came in today at 1:31 p.m. You can see the call flow that I went through. You can see the flow status was complete. So I actually went through the entire call flow. You can see the last completed step. You can also, let's see here. I don't know if it recorded the call because it didn't go to a real phone number. Let's see here. Refresh the page. Yeah, so since I wasn't forwarding to a real phone number, it didn't actually record the call because there was no audio to actually record. But if I did, let me see if I can jump back into another, if I've got a real one that was actually recorded. This person maybe. So this is a voicemail, which is cool because you can actually listen to your voicemails as well directly in here. But if this was a call recording, you'd be able to listen to the recording of the call. So why is that cool? Well, for a couple different reasons. Number one is you can just have casual conversations with your sellers and you don't have to worry about scribbling down super, super detailed notes because everything's being recorded. So you can go back and you can recall that conversation. The other reason why I really like it is for quality control and sales training. So quality control, meaning if I am outsourcing my answering service to Pat Live or a different service or virtual assistants, I can listen to the recorded calls to make sure that they're of the quality that I want my customers to receive. They're, you know, you're kind of monitoring the customer service, if you will, and also the sales. So the other reason is like I said, for sales coaching. So maybe you've got somebody who's struggling a little bit, you can listen to their calls and you can kind of coach them on how they could have better conversations, more meaningful conversations with the sellers. All right. So that is how you would create a custom call flow inside of your REI Blackbook account. So let me jump back and see if we got any questions. William said, Josh, I missed how you delayed the text going out for a minute. All right, so let's jump over and I'll show you how to do that. So if we jump back into the call flow, and let me just search for it. Here it is. Okay, so again, call comes in. What happens? Is it answered? If it's answered, great, no big deal. If it's not answered, they go to voicemail, tag gets applied, task gets applied, notification gets applied. And then William, what I did was I just inserted a step and it's a delay. And so you have the option to add delays and you'll be able to add delays by minutes, hours, days, weeks, or months. So I just changed it to 1 minute. Okay. So I'm going to delete this obviously because we don't need 2 delays back to back. But that's how you would do that. So let's see what other kind of questions we have. Will there be a transcription for the message left by the caller? Is there any charge? So Leanne, that's a great question. There is not a transcription at this point of the calls, but what we do is it's recorded. So there's no charge for recording of the calls or voicemails. There's no charge at all, but there is no transcription. But that is a good question. And that's something that we could probably put on our dev board as something that we might be able to work on in the future. Let's see, not seeing any other questions. So, hey guys, if you're watching this video, and I do see a lot of existing REI Blackbook users on here, which is great. If you're watching this video and you're not an existing REI Blackbook user and you want to learn a little bit more about the system, there is a link below in this video where you can actually watch a quick 5-minute demo. And then if you want to learn a little bit more about it, you can actually book a call with a member of our team and they will walk you through this system and show you exactly how it would help fit your business. So obviously we're all in the real estate investing space, the real estate investing business on this call. I'm sure, or at least you have interest in real estate, but even within real estate investing, there's different types of businesses, right? Maybe you're a landlord, maybe you run a hard money business, maybe you're a wholesaler and you flip houses as well. So if you have questions about how REI Blackbook could work specifically for your business, then I'd love for you to book a call with somebody on our team and we can answer some questions for you and see if REI Blackbook is a good fit for your business. So as always, everybody, thank you so much for joining me on this call. Sorry, we had some technical difficulties at the beginning, but we'll figure that out for next week. If you do have any questions, please pop them in the comments below. So if you're watching this and it's a recording, pop those in the comments below and we'll be sure to answer those for you. So guys, if you like this, please hit the like button. Please subscribe to our channel. Please share it with anybody that you think that this would benefit. If you know real estate investors that are still putting their cell phone number on their postcards, please save them time and frustration, help them grow their business, share this video with them because it truly can help them grow their business. So we'll see you guys back here next week, same time, same place, every Monday at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. We go live with REI Blackbook training. So thank you so much, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye.